Hi, hello, and welcome back, everyone. Today, as you can see by this little starting picture, this commenter has requested I return to the Star Wars Vehicles as Transformers universe and turn a TIE Defender into a Decepticon. So, here I go. Anyway, first thing, I'm gonna do this one slightly differently. Usually I do lore, then explain, but I'm gonna do a little bit of just thought process stuff first because this one was I think the X-Wing one turned out a little better than this one, frankly, but this one was also harder because TIE fighters don't give me much to work with, honestly. It's kind of a ball with wings. Anyway, because of the way the wings are formatted, I thought that using Soundwave from Transformers Prime is one of the best references I could have used because he's got these very flat, sharp arms, and now I didn't end up doing claws or anything like that. I ended up doing a cannon and a arm blade. And honestly, the hardest part of this probably comes around when we get to the coloring stage, and that is that because TIE fighters are like 90% black and gray, there's not much color variation there, meaning, and because they're mostly dark colors, it makes it very hard to shade, and since they're hard to shade, it's very hard to differentiate the parts, so the shading was a little frustrating on this one, but overall, still had a good time drawing this one. I always have a good time drawing these ones, and as this commenter did, I would like to remind everyone that I do take suggestions. So in the comment section below, if there are any franchises you would like to see mashed together, a new character made for, or even something else, I'll look at those comments and I'll probably do it at some point. So, yeah, go ahead and do that. Also, if you do end up enjoying the video, please like and subscribe. It'll help the channel pop up to more people. More people means more comments. More comments means more ideas, and more ideas hopefully means better videos because ideas I wouldn't have thought of otherwise. So, yeah, go down there, comment, like, subscribe, do your thing. Anyway, back to this, right? Obviously, the nice thing about him saying a TIE Defender rather than a TIE Fighter was that I actually did have more wings to work with than I would if it was just straight up a TIE Fighter, right? The TIE Fighter has two very hexagonal wings, which would have made this very difficult, but he said the TIE Defender, and the TIE Defender has one sharper wings, but two has three of them, or technically six, I guess, because they split in the middle, but I'm not quite sure. So it gave me more to work with there. So if you look at the red lines I did, and I always do this for Transformer videos because it just makes it easier. I used two of the wings for the legs, two for the arms, and then I had the other two that would be part of the arms. I basically folded them up to go on the back and come down at the bottom a little bit. And I thought that kind of filled out the image a little bit more. So I think overall, good choice on that part. Now, where does this character fit in the lore? Well, my idea for that is, as stated in the previous one, the Rebels and the Autobots started working together, and while the Empire and the Decepticons were basically just trying to use each other, but at the same time we're still interacting. And if you watched Transformers Prime, they were in other Transformers media, but this is probably the one that's most well known. There's kind of a subclass of Decepticon called Vietcons, which are basically just Decepticon cannon fodder. So what I figured was that this guy, or at least the standard TIE Fighter, would be, the standard TIE Fighter is what the Vietcons ended up taking as their air form, because there are air Vietcons and ground Vietcons. The ground ones probably took ATSTs as their form. But, and hey, maybe that's a future video, not sure yet. But because the TIE Fighter is kind of the Imperial cannon fodder, and Viacons are cannon fodder, I basically figured, perfect, it's perfect, TIE Fighters are great for that. Now, why is the TIE Defender... Now, this is a TIE Defender, not a TIE Fighter, so this wouldn't be a Viacon. So, my idea for this one, since the TIE Fighter is... Or, sorry, TIE Defender is kind of a better TIE Fighter all around. They're shielded, they've got better firepower. It was basically just an all-around improvement. I figured that this TIE Defender could be a Decepticon Seeker. Now, a Seeker is essentially what Starscream is, and this could be, and since Starscream wouldn't be here, that I've already established that this is like kind of sub-factions of the Autobots and Decepticons that ended up in the Star Wars universe, but this would be one of those Seekers who ends up taking place as basically the Sky Commander of the TIE Fighter Viacons, and because of that, he wanted to take kind of the most advanced Imperial fighter as his form, and yeah, there's other versions of like elite TIE fighters like the TIE Interceptor, but the TIE Defender is probably the best one, so I feel like it makes sense for the Sky Commander or Air Commander of this Decepticon unit to be a TIE Defender. That just makes sense to me. As for a name, I was originally gonna call this guy like Imperialist or something, like something kind of, Imperial sounding, but then I realized a name that sounds that grand should probably be reserved for like if I ever do a Star Destroyer as a Transformer. I feel like that makes more sense. So just gonna call this guy something a little simpler, something more along the lines with the other Seekers. So I think Sky Screecher is a fine name, not a good name. I'm not great with Transformer names, if you can't tell. Still haven't thought of one for the X-Wing, but, Sky Screecher works for a few reasons. One, the Seekers all have... Their names all seem to be somewhere along that line, and then on top of that, the TIE Fighter has a very... And obviously the TIE Defender also has this sound, but the TIE Fighter has a very unique sound that is very recognizable, and it's this kind of... I mean, it's a screeching of sort, but a screeching is really the only way I could think to, describe it, so Sky Screecher it is. Anyway, yeah. So, basically, Sky Screecher is, like I said, the Air Commander of the Viacons that are currently working, quote-unquote, with the Empire. And their deal is essentially that the Cybertronians, because just for the sake of this plotline, let's assume that, well, one, they're likely better pilots than the Imperial pilots, because they are the vehicle, and then second, their robot form gives them more benefits. So, basically the deal is that the Decepticons will provide them with their support, their power, if the Empire devotes some of their resources to tracking down the Autobots, and it just so happens that the Autobots end up being exactly where the Empire was already heading, so that's kind of the end of them working together, and I would say that pretty much as soon as the battle is looking bad for the Empire, Sky Screecher has no loyalty to the Empire, and neither do any of his Viacons, so they pretty much flee as soon as the battle starts going poorly for them, and which leaves them a little bit on their own, because the Empire isn't completely willing to work with them after that. In fact, the Empire has pretty vengeful in nature, so it is actively trying to hunt down all Cybertronians that are found in the Star Wars galaxy for multiple reasons. One, for slighting them, but two, so that they can acquire Cybertronian technology, because yes, they already have the Star Wars technology, but Cybertronian technology would also be pretty great. These Decepticons have started spreading out onto planets that have kyber crystal reserves, because as I said in the previous video, in case you didn't watch that, since energon is not naturally found in this galaxy, they found that kyber crystals can actually work to power Cybertronians just as well as energon. So they've started building, I guess, a presence on planets rich in kyber crystal, and have essentially been enforcing their mining there under the guise of being the Empire, using their Imperial vehicle forms. And as we've seen with some Transformers, they can create like holographic pilots, like RC does, so under guise of the Empire, they've been going to kyber crystal rich worlds and mining there so that they have fuel. Now, this has not gone unnoticed by the Empire, because the Empire really likes their kyber crystals, because in case you didn't know this, fun fact, the Death Star was actually powered by kyber crystals, and in the sequel movies, Starkiller Base is actually on Ilum, which is where the Jedi used to get their kyber crystals from, and it was the planet that had was one of the planets with the most common kyber crystals on it, kyber crystals were the most common on it, so they ended up turning that into the base. So the Empire's not going to be too happy about that. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope to see you on the next one, and bye!